My name is Umar Bindir. I am from Yola town in Adamawa State. I'm a Fulani man by tribe. And I had my basic education in Yola. I had my secondary education in Yola. I had my university education in the University of Maiduguri. And I graduated in the agricultural engineering, agricultural technology profession. So I went in the mid to late 80s to England to study agricultural machinery engineering in Cranfield, a very prestigious university, particularly for our profession. So I got my master's and PhD from that particular university. And from there, I did not come straight back home. I worked just a bit in the United Kingdom, and then I got a job in the Pacific through the Commonwealth universities. So I was stationed in Papua New Guinea for some years, where I rose to become a senior lecturer and an associate professor in engineering in that University of Technology. And in 1998, I came back to Nigeria and I joined the Federal Civil Service. So I was as an assistant director, deputy director, director in the then FEAP, Family Economic Advancement Program, during the Abacha regime. And that institution, a public institution, was shouldered with the responsibility of reducing poverty in Nigeria using technology. So from there, after Abacha's death, through Abdul Salam to Obasanjo, that particular institution was completely defunct. And then somehow one thing led to the other. We emerged again as the staff of the National Poverty Eradication Program under the Obasanjo regime. So I was a director there. I was a pioneer director. So there again we started fighting poverty technologically, which was my role. This Kekena PEP that you see was my project. I was the desk officer of Kekena PEP, and it's amazing how you see Kekena PEP all over the place, but they've forgotten the source, So from there, NAPEP was operating under the Secretary of the Government of the Federation's office. And then from there, I moved to the Federal Ministry of Sports and Social Development. I was actually the Director of Sports. It was during my tenure that Samson Siasia and other coaches emerged to lead the Nigerian teams. So I survived the Ministry of Sport for some time, and then I moved to the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology as the Director of Technology Acquisition and Assessment Department. Under that ministry, I was actually the director supervising like 9 agencies, including NASENI, including Board of Technology Incubation, including NIBRI, Building and Road Research, and then including NOTAP, and so on and so forth. So I worked for quite some time in that ministry. We were the ones who were setting up all these NASDA, NABDA, NIDA, and all these things. We were involved during the tenure of what I refer to as the best minister Nigeria has ever seen, our own and only Professor Turner Isong, very, very brilliant Nigerian. And from there, I then got recruited as the Director General of NOTAP, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion. And I was there for sometimes 5-6 years. Then my people came to my office one day and said, Dr. Bindir, you have an academic experience, you have civil service experience, you are now a public service leader. I think you should come home and help our government to be able to mature using these merits. So I was recruited as the secretary to the state government of Adamawa State in 2015. So we survived for 4 years, and then after that we were defeated in the election, so I came back to Abuja, and then I went back to the poverty eradication system. I was the national coordinator of the National Social Investment Program under the Ministry of Humanitarian and Social and Disaster Management. So then at the end of the Buhari regime, we all left because it was a political appointment. So at the end of the day, now as you see me, I am now a generic worker. I'm a retired technocrat. I take assignments the way they come, literally just for national development. But on a concentrated point, I am now the founder and the Chief Operating Officer of the Bindir Knowledge Center located in Yola Town. And what we do there is literally to give opportunity to children between the ages of 5 to 9 to acquire modern knowledge from the internet, from literal technology, physical, electrical, chemical, and so on and so forth. And that is what I do. And I get called by so many organizations to kind of contribute. I deliver convocation lectures. I give keynote speeches at technical conferences. I appear on televisions like this to share my experiences. But this is the working experience of Dr. Bindir. Now, reflecting on the other part of your question, during this sojourn, what technological systems, what kind of innovation have I come up with to contribute technically? Well, my first encounter with something that is useful for human beings is that I designed and built a prototype and tested what we call as a hydraulic water pump. It's a pump that doesn't need an external source of energy, but can pump water from lower lands to higher lands. And I did that. And this is literally based on what we call as a water hammer technology. After that, in my postgraduate days, I invented, built, and tested a groundnut combine harvester that is tractor powered. So that machine can go into the field, pull the plant of groundnut, take the nuts off, preserve the top, and then put the nuts in a sack. I invented that and I built it. I came to Nigeria and I tested it. Now, then after graduating, in my working system, I was heading an institute called Appropriate Technology and Development Institute in the University of Technology. And this is literally, basically an innovation institution. I have invented a water still. What they call a water still is that if you go to islands, like we have in the Pacific, they are surrounded by water, but you can't drink the water because the water is salty. So I invented a system that can actually evaporate the drinking water and leave the salt behind. And it's working all over the place. I also invented a coconut dehusking machine. They have coconuts all over the place in these areas, but they do it manually. I invented a dehusker that can help push the system to perform industrially. It was patented and commercialized. I also invented what we call as an evaporative cooling system. You know, in the rural communities, they produce a lot of vegetables and other proteins that are perishable, but they don't have easy electricity to store this. So I invented a system whereby you can use the coconut husk on one side, wet it up with water, pass air through it, and it cools the environment. So you can cool your vegetable and so on for a week or 2 weeks without actually denaturing, based on that totally passive energy, not active, and so on and so forth. So I've done many bits and pieces technically, but now I try to breed young people. First, to get interested in science and technology, and then get focused, particularly on engineering or medicine or, you know, the natural sciences. That is what is required to ensure that we move to the next level on a continuous basis. People actually knows that NOTAP exists in Nigeria or existed in Nigeria before I went there. NOTAP, without being too aggressively modest, NOTAP is the most important institution in all the federal government parastatals. People don't know that. It was India's NOTAP that India used to industrialize. It was Brazilian NOTAP that Brazil used to actually industrialize. It was Malaysian NOTAP that Malaysia used to industrialize, and so on and so forth. So what is this NOTAP? Before I went to NOTAP, NOTAP had existed for 30 years. The first Director General or the head of the institution survived for nearly 13 years. And the next one survived for over 7 years also. No, 17 or something. So you put it together. I went to NOTAP in 2009 when NOTAP has clocked 30 years. So what does NOTAP do? NOTAP is the gate man of technology in Nigeria. So what we see happening in our country is that when you want electricity, it is foreign technology that is used to provide electricity to us. We don't have the technology. to breed, generation systems, transmission systems, and also distribution system. We don't have our own. People can be working here and there, but the actual technology we don't have. So it's foreign technology that enters our country. When you see big roads, big bridges, big buildings with glass shining in Lagos, in Abuja, in Kano, it is foreign technology that actually brings it. When you see trains working in Nigeria, it is not Nigerian technology. It's foreign technology that is coming. And I can tell you, this foreign technology coming into Nigeria saps a lot of money in Nigeria out because you have to pay for it. So if Nigeria were to have this technology, it would have saved that money. So the function of all the universities, all the research institutions, all the polytechnics is to try to domesticate this technology so that we too, we can be able to say, don't come in, we know how to generate our power. Don't come in, we know how to make our railway. Don't come in, we know how to make our roads. Don't come in, we know how to make our water systems, and so on and so forth. So NOTAP is the gate man here, who stands, NOTAP sees all the technology coming in and all the pricing that this technology is priced, and NOTAP tries to negotiate to say, this is too expensive. This is the way you are doing it, Nigerians will not learn. How you are bringing it, you are bringing all technology. This is what NOTAP does. And when NOTAP collects this information of the actual technology we are consuming, it now tells the technology evolution institutions, hey, NASDA, why are you wasting your time doing 1, 2, 3, 4? This is why we're spending money. Why can't you try to domesticate that? They go to Ahmadu Bello University's area. Why are you teaching and doing research in these areas that are not particularly addressing the needs of Nigeria? This is the information, what we need, and so on and so forth. And I can tell you, over the period that I was there in NOTAP for 6 years, these renegotiations of the value of technology coming and so on, we have saved Nigeria by arguing with the foreign companies to reduce their cost, something in the region of 300 billion naira. We said, no, you cannot take away. But it's not cash that you can see. We just, instead of it to come and take 10 billion, we would have reduced it to 3 billion. So we have saved Nigeria 7 billion because of our negotiation skills. 2, because we understand how technology mature, how it comes to our country to help us, we now try to teach the universities this culture of making sure you produce technology and get it matured. And that is why we started and we engendered what we call intellectual property and technology transfer offices. We said every university must understand the concept of intellectual property. How do you protect your technology? How do you commercialize it? How do you brand it? How do you make products that can sell? How do you replace these technologies that we are consuming a lot? So we did that. One of my legacies is to try to ginger that. 3, these companies that are bringing their technology, whether it is Nestle selling coffee to us and Nido, whether it is Ricket Benkiza selling soap to us, whether it is Procter & Gamble selling hair things and so on and so forth, or whatever, we now argue with them to say, no, you must participate in pushing Nigeria to mature. Whether you are going to establish a laboratory or you allow our academics to visit your lab, all of them have their labs in their countries. And it is from that lab that they bring the technology. So I've been able to now come up with a technology transfer strategic project to make sure that companies assist Nigerians to acquire the relevant technology so that we can be able to also produce some of the things that they are doing. And 4, even down to children, to get children actually interested in technology. I have come up with a project called as the Technology Storyboard. You know, if you see powdered milk, it comes from cows. So from the cow milk, you apply technology, you reduce the fat or you increase it, you apply further technology, you make it into powder, you apply further technology, you reduce the smell and so on, and then children are eating the powdered milk. So when you catch a child, he knows cows with milk, he knows powder, but he doesn't know what happens in the middle. We decode that into primary and secondary schools on a pictorial storyboard. So we show them what happens. Same thing like Maggi. Maggi is produced by Nestle. Complicated technology, but Maggi comes from soybeans. So our children, they know soybeans and they are eating Maggi, but they don't know that these soybeans have to be softened. You have to clean it, you have to ferment it, you have to mix it with other things before it becomes Maggi. So we decode that. During my tenure, we produced nearly 100 technology storyboards, from gas that is flaring to plastic plate and spoon, children are beginning to understand, wow, this is it. And I will say, that is why you go to school. That is why you should study chemistry. That is why you should go and do chemical engineering. That is why you should go and do mechanical engineering. That is why you should study, so that they can understand this is why and why and why you do that. So we've been able to do that. So there are many of these micro things, all aimed at pushing Nigeria to understand that you need to produce your own technology that will mature to cover your healthcare, to cover your puring your water to drink, to cover your roads, to cover your housing, to cover your agriculture, and so on and so forth, for you to survive. Managing 250 million people, there is no way you can do it comfortably unless you have technology. And once you don't have technology, then our leaders are in trouble, because most of the money is going to pay other people who are serious with their technology acquisition, and they're feeding us with technology. And then we don't see it. We're just eating things. We're eating Maggi, we're drinking milk, we're enjoying good roads, we're driving cars, none of it that we're producing. So, and this was the concept that I tried to dig when I was the Director General of NOTAP for Nigerian technology system to mature. I think that is my greatest legacy generically. Well, intellectual property, is a broad subject matter. It's a legal matter, but on technology. So imagine you have a piece of land and you need certificate of occupancy of that land. Otherwise, when they come to take it, you cannot argue. When you have your car, it's your asset. But if you don't have the papers, if they steal the car, you cannot have it back, because you cannot prove that it's your own car. If you have your big house, it's sitting on a property. If you don't have the papers, even if people move in, it will be very difficult to actually take it over. It is exactly the same with even the knowledge assets. So when you are smart, you come up with ideas and science on electricity, and you manage to turn this system to come up with a bulb or whatever that is glowing. For you to be able to benefit from this, you have to protect it. That is property too. So that protection of these intangible things, technology things, how do you generate an offline system? How do you make software that is working for you and you have come up with it? If you leave it openly, people will copy it, people will mess it up, people will destroy it. So you have to protect it. That protection is called intellectual property rights. The system itself is the intellectual property, which is property of your brain, and then the protection is the certificate of occupancy, which is IPR. So there are many of these. You have a patent, which you must have heard of. A patent is only a piece of paper. But that piece of paper tells people that you are the inventor of this. And it is novel. No one has thought of this. It's only you. So you've worked so hard. You deserve to keep this as your property. That paper keeps it for you. Secondly, that thing has practical application. So people can see. It's a mic, it's a bulb, it's a switch, it's a pump, whatever. So you cannot have a patent that is just abstract and nobody knows what it is. It has to be applicable to make life easy for people. And third, it will be non-obvious. So even a professor in that function will wonder how you did it, and that is how you get a patent. So these three factors gives you that piece of paper, And once you have that piece of paper, it gives you an opportunity to now discuss with somebody who wants to practicalize it to make money. You may not have money. You may not have factory. You just have brain and you have produced it. So you are looking around, who will use this and give me some money? That process of getting somebody to now pick your technology, to start manufacturing it, to give you something, is called technology transfer. You are moving it from you to the person who will now practice it, and then you get the benefit. Without that patent, that will be very difficult. The guy will just take it and start making it and making money. You come to it, it's just like that your farm. You don't have certificate of occupancy. I'm farming on it. You cannot take it away. You can jump up and down, but that's your problem. So you need that patent. So in Nigeria, the process of these protections, whether it is patent, whether it's trademark, whether industrial design, or a trade secret, or all these biological protection models, we have the system, but we don't have it too. Our patenting system is very shallow. It is not as vigorous as the United States patent system, or as Japanese patent system, or as the world global patent system. But we have a patent registry, and we have a patent registrar, and we have an industrial design register in the Ministry of Trade and Investment. We also have a copyright commission, but it is in the Ministry of Justice. So all these books you produce, all the music you produce, all the drama you come up as your property, you can protect that too, so that nobody can practice it. I'm sure you hear of piracy. People are copying your music. When you protect it in copyright, when somebody pirates it, you can take him to court, and you can actually claim a lot of money because they copied your music and they're playing it on their radio without actually giving you royalty. That copyright commission is in the Ministry of Justice. And then NOTAP. NOTAP's role in intellectual property is because NOTAP understands industrial property, because it is seeing the foreign technology coming in. It participates in pushing Nigerian technology acquisition at a higher level. So it tries to get Nigerians to understand patenting is important. We can even help you to patent your technology. Trademark is important. You need to have that mark to make sure that everybody is convinced that it's coming from you is safe, is good, and so on and so forth. You need to understand industrial design, because that is how you package your things and people can sell. You need to also understand the concept of trade secret, so that you keep your secret and nobody can know the idea when you are practicing it. They just see good things coming out of your house. When they come in, they see the pictures and so on, but your mouth is smooth. Don't talk about the chili and the ginger and so on that you manage to mix and paint the chicken with. They just eat nice chicken. Like you see this Kentucky Fried Chicken, is trade secret. Nobody will tell you that powder, what it is made of. So we try to inculcate this culture of understanding the intellectual property, so that Nigerians can be able to push their technology to the highest level. So these are the intellectual property systems in Nigeria. However, because they are in different ministries, and our culture is that everybody creates an island around him, and don't touch me, this is my money, this is my people, this is my vehicle. So institutions that are separate are quarreling all together. It does not allow an innovation system to thrive. It does not allow Nigeria to mature. So we too, we come into that too. So we organize conferences and workshops, inviting all these people to come to the round table, and we try to nurture that working together. So literally that is the intellectual property system of our country. It is weak, but it is gradually getting better, and we are now beginning to see patents coming out of universities, patents coming out of research institutions. The challenge now where we are facing, the biggest challenge is the commercialization. How do you take it to the market? I normally advise people that if you are expecting Nestle to take your patent, they will not touch it, because this is a very matured system. They have their research institutions, they have their patenting system, they have their protection, and we are not particularly, in quote, God-fearing and legal-fearing people. So intellectual property doesn't work with irresponsibility, that you can just say, to hell with you, I will practice this, take me to the moon. Intellectual property doesn't work, and we do that all the time. So, but our commercialization phase is in the small and medium enterprises. That is what I try to pitch to. Don't take these big companies, and don't think that Julius Berger will take your own innovative ideas to start constructing bridges. They will not touch it. But if you can be able to take your technology and ensure that the rural roads are very good, the inter-community roads are very good, the houses in the communities are excellent, the schools are looking good with good windows based on your innovation, that commercialization is possible. You can create companies in Nigeria, small companies, manned by Nigerians, creating jobs for Nigerians, creating wealth and distributing for Nigeria, and you would see that your technology is commercial. You too, you will get something out of it. So this is the generic ecosystem of the IPR, its challenges, and how to get to the next level. Technology transfer, as we discussed, is the first you have to have technology. And technology starts from research, and then you use the research results to come up with tangible technology, right? So I'll give you an example. Say rice seeds. So the scientist in the laboratory is studying different types of rice, right? This one is long, but it breaks very easily. This one is short, but it's too strong. You have to cook it for a long time to cook. So what they now take, they take a bit of the softness from this variety and take a bit of the fatness from this variety, join it together, and then you have rice that is not too big but not too long. So it's strong, you can clean it, you can process it, and that is the science. So the technologists now will take that science and be able to come up with the seeds, plant it again, and test it, and use machines, and so on and so forth. Once that is done, then somebody will now come up with, I have gotten a variety that is sweet, that is easy to cook, that is easy to process, and therefore let us get the intellectual property on it. So they patent it, or they protect it. So now, you are now the Baba of this technology, and you can showcase the rice. If you plant this rice, you will blow people's heads with rice that can mature very quickly, rice that is sweet, rice that can be polished, and so on and so forth. But you are sitting with the patent and your own samples in your office, and you are poor. You cannot go anywhere. So what happens is that then somebody comes in to say, Oga, I have an idea to establish a seed multiplication and marketing factory or company. Can we use your variety so that we can produce in tons and tons and share it to all these farmers? So you now shake hands. It's called licensing agreement. It's called technology transfer agreement. So yeah, take the rice and we shake hands, but for every 100 naira profit you make in your business, you give me 20 naira. So the man will say, no, Oga, 20 naira is too much. I'll give you 10 naira. You say, no. Let us get a lawyer to advise us. So the intellectual property lawyer is sitting there looking at the two of you. You said 20 naira, he said 15. Oga, take 17. So the company will say, Kai, 17 is too much. Let him manage with 15 now. So somehow you arrive at 15. So you shake hands. That technology transfer agreement is now matured. So you have agreed to move your technology from you to the producing factory. So now it is ready for commercialization. But you are sitting in your house and you are getting, for every 100 naira, you will get 15 naira. For every 100 billion naira, you get 15 billion naira. For every 100 trillion naira he makes, you get 15 trillion. Now imagine if you are an academic and you have 10 of these patents, because this encourages you. I'm getting 15 naira. So this month, I got 1.5 million. This month, I got 15 million. Because this guy is trying to make money, sharing and selling the seeds in Nigeria, in Ghana, in everywhere. So, and when the agreement will say that anytime you see something wrong, so maybe insects are eating the rice very easily. So that company comes back to say, Oga, this is your rice, if I keep it for 10 weeks, insects are entering. You say, okay, we are scientists now, we know what to do. So they call the professor. Professor, insects are eating. So they go back to the lab. They work on it and then eliminate that insect. They bring the upgraded seed. They now give it. So all that agreement will say, I'll be giving you a 15 naira, but any improvement, when you improve it, we will get the benefit. So technology transfer is complex. You know, it is from the science, you made it practical, and you move it to industry. And this is the transfer, this is the commercialization, but innovations happens here. Innovations happen. So for food security to happen, it means we have to be doing this on our cassava. We have to be doing this on our millet. We have to be doing this on our mango. We have to be doing this on our oranges. We have to be doing it on our chicken. We have to be doing it on our sheep. So you can see, for you to attain food security, your science has to be serious in all these areas of food, from cows for milk, from goats for meat, from seeds to crops, and so on and so forth. But also from the engineering to processing and package. You know, so these people have to work very hard. The technicians have to come up with this technology. The intellectual properties has to protect it, because if it is not protected, this man will not sign the agreement, because anybody can use it. Some people will go and plant it anyhow, and then you are selling it. And like you see what happens sometimes in the market. They buy rice, which is cheap from somewhere. They package it in a different box, and then they are selling and cheating people. If you don't have intellectual protection there, this will happen. And there's nothing you can do about it. So Nigeria's food security depends on its science, depends on its technology, and depends on its capacity to transfer the technology so that you are creating jobs, you are creating wealth, and then you are creating knowledge. All these policies you hear that when we say Vision 2010, Vision 2020, or the Renewed Hope Agenda, all this depends on this journey. You cannot be able to wake up the hope of Nigerians if the scientists are not working, producing the technology to create the jobs and wealth for them. So if we're sitting here just waiting for foreigners to now continue giving us rice to eat, then NOTAP will see it, to say that, Nigeria, what are you doing? We cannot sustain this. So all our money will finish and we will be hungry. And this is some of the things that you're seeing now. Well, you see, there is something academics call the triple helix. The triple helix are 3 points. So you have the government at the top. Politically, they are the leaders, right? And they have to lead by example. They have to be conscious of the need of the country. They have to be very, very politically protecting to the country. They must love their country. Otherwise, it is not going to happen. The same political people must have economic maturity, like what we're talking about. They must say, why are we constantly buying things? Why can't we create things? Why can't we create jobs? Why can't we create wealth? Thirdly, morally, our leadership has to be moral too. Moral in the sense that there shouldn't be rampant corruption that is openly. There shouldn't be irresponsibility all over the place. And then, technologically, the leadership also at the political or government level must also have this hunger to ensure that technologically we become secured. If you have that leadership, it means automatically the policies that will come out here, the directives that will come, the circulars will now power the institutions that are working for knowledge. Our universities will be good because our politicians believe in that. Our polytechnics will be very good. Our own colleges of education will be very good. Our research institutions will be very good. The goodness I'm talking about is that they will now be bringing knowledge about things that are useful to us. They will be making patents on things that can actually create comfort for us. Our housing, our water, our schools, our education, our books should be coming from this system. So you can see that patents are just piling up because the leaders believe and they are supporting this. Good funding, good salary, good accommodation for lecturers and teachers and researchers, good laboratories, good workshops, and so on and so forth. When this responds and you have a lot of patents, it means industry will now respond. So the Nigerian industry will be taking Nigerian patents to produce the products. You know, they are the ones making the tables. They can make glass, they can make steel, they can build houses, they can build roads, they can build trains, and so on and so forth. And this is where the jobs are. Because we are constantly employing all the polytechnic graduates as technicians, all the people who are not working here to now be the carpenters, to now be the people who are painting, to know that they are the packaging, they are the drivers. These 3 points, when the government is powering so hard, liking our country, to the extent that they are supporting the knowledge system to produce the relevant knowledge with the intellectual property, and for industry to support the technology transfer, this triple helix is the summary of this, the answer to your question. Without that, if the government is just open to importation, like what we see now, every time you see a member of the National Assembly going to his constituency, you see large number of keke napep that are not made in Nigeria. You see sewing machines that are not made in Nigeria. You see hair drying and that are not made in Nigeria. Gas cylinders and gas cookers that are not made in Nigeria. Meaning that we're taking our money, this hard-earned money, from either oil and gas, from whatever, out to China and India to now buy their own products because their research institutes are working very well. Their technicians are working very well. They have patents that are transferred to their industry. We're importing, literally, we are exporting your own prosperity and importing poverty. And that is what we see. That is why our poverty is always going up. When you see roads, it's not us that are designing the roads. Each time you see our leaders commissioning a road, you will see one white person at the back. That is the technology. That is where the research is mature. That is where the intellectual property is coming from. You want to commission trains. Yeah, it's nice to sit inside a train and then you are enjoying yourself. But it's not your knowledge. It's the Chinese that are bringing everything to the extent that they are the ones driving it up to a point. What that shows you is that your knowledge system is not working for you. You can have professors if you like. You can have massive number of PhDs. You can have laboratories if you like, but it's not working for you. Why? Because when it comes to consumption, it is not yours that are consuming. And once it is not yours that is being consumed, you cannot create jobs. You cannot create wealth. You are just pushing wealth. So we have all the ingredients, but actually we've not managed to say, in the next 10 years, no bicycle can come into Nigeria. What that means is that you must know how to utilize sheet metal. You should know how to roll the sheet metal to make pipes. You should know how to cut it. You should know how to design the bicycle. You should know how to weld. You should know how to produce rubber seat, and so on and so forth. All this knowledge must come from the knowledge system and become intellectual property to take it to our small industry. Imagine if you are to have 5 young people having 5 companies. One is just making the seat for the bicycle. The other one is only making the chain. And the other one is making the metal frame. And there's another one who is buying from all these 3 to make the bicycles. Imagine what is going to happen. So this is the story of the triple helix. And you can tell if the triple helix is working by just looking at what you are consuming. Look around you. Are the bulbs yours? No. Are the tiles yours? No. Are the nice doors yours? No. Are the glasses yours? No. So once you see that, just be in your comfort zone, but something is not working for you. That is why you are poor. That is why you are not respected. And that is why your practices are not considered as good practices. We've talked about the triple helix. Once that triple helix captures everybody, you know, it captures you as a politician, as a government worker, as a head of department, as PAMSEC, as director, you are there in the top government system. If you are a professor in the university, a teacher in the university, a PhD student in the university, a researcher in the lab or a research institute, the knowledge system captures you too. Now, if you are an ordinary person who is just a carrier, a wheelbarrow pusher, a painter, a builder, and you are constantly in the delivery system, the innovation side, you are in the cycle of the industry. So it captures everybody. My advice to Nigerians is that nothing good comes easy. We cannot continue to think that just like God gives us rain as irrigation for our crops during the rainy season, all things will happen like this. It will not happen like that. After all, even rain, sometimes it's too much. It will carry our houses and so on and so forth. Sometimes it does not come at all. So unless you plan it very well, you cannot use it. We have to resolve, first, to love our country. Second, to be very, very patriotic. Third, loving your country means wanting your country to be respected by people. For other people to respect you, you must demonstrate that you are respectable. You are talking the truth. You are behaving well. You are respecting the law. And you are showcasing that your country is good to come and live in our country. Come and work in our country. Come and invest in our country. So to do that, my big advice is go to school. Try and go to school. And I can tell you, the schooling that can change the fortunes of Nigeria is at the tertiary institution. Very quickly. In 3 years, we can do this. 3 to 5 years, Nigeria can change if we consider our universities, our polytechnics, our colleges of education, our nursing school, our technical school, where people have graduated from basic education. They are now young people. They are seeing different tribes. They are seeing different cultures. They are seeing different dresses, different foods. And you manage to work on these children while they are together. They are to be organizationally very good, to be managerially very good, to be very creative, to be hardworking, to be friends. I can tell you the whole thing will just spark. Unfortunately, we are working on the opposite track. You know, when you go to our regional universities, you find that all the students and staff are all from that region. They speak the same language. They eat the same food. In this country where you have more than 150 different cultures, different tribes, you're breeding a pure breed. It can't work. So we have to go back to where we started before that. Every university, at least every federal university, the government should say that you must have a minimum of 15% from every other area in Nigeria. You must create that composite. You must create that cosmopolitan system in your university. Otherwise, we will remove you as vice chancellor. Otherwise, we will close your university. You are not university for Nigeria. But when you now sit in your comfort zone, you use it, this is shared, this is regional, whatever, whatever. And before you know, everybody is speaking the same language in the university. They don't even speak English anymore. They are wearing the same dress. They are eating the same food. How can you serve Nigeria that way? It's not possible. So things to be done are there. They are common sense. But my advice is we have to love our country. If we love our country, we can see these solutions very easily. But if we decide to constantly be sentimental, like we do now, you know, everything you are trying to protect yourself first, and your family, and your tribe, and your region, and your area, it can't work. So we have to break from that island and be able to say, I am a Nigerian. I am working as a Nigerian, and I'm contributing as a Nigerian. And that is above the sentiments of religion and tribe and region. If we can do that, we have a beautiful country, and the hope is fantastically renewable. And we can see the light at the end of the tunnel very, very quickly. As a resolution by some Nigerians, young Nigerians that I see, who are looking around to see where good things are happening in science, in technology, so that they are innovating, that is an incredible contribution to this country. And I will advise them to intensify their reach to Nigerians, partner with the local television stations in the states so that they have a slot to showcase what is possible. Also go down, like my mother is a very high-level technologist, innovator, and an engineer, but she never went to school. You know what I mean? Is that my poor mother, who has never been to school, she knows how to smoke fish. She knows how to fry sweet akara. She can, fry puff-puff. She can make yogurt. She can smoke fish in a no-fridge environment so that the meat can survive for 1 year, 2 years. But that woman died poor. Why? Because we have not enabled the formal technology to catch up with her, to tell her, Mama, instead of allowing flies to be all over your fish and all over your meat, why don't you cover it this way, or put this plant near where you are processing your meat, no fly will come in. So you've edged her up a little bit. Then the microcredit should work for my mother. My mother, if you give her 30,000 naira, it's too much money for her to handle. So that every week she can buy that 10,000 naira fish and smoke it during that fish. So she's beginning to become entrepreneurial. She knows that if she spends this 30,000 without paying, she may be in trouble or she might not get another one. So you inculcate this. If my mother had that opportunity, I can tell you in 1 year, she could have turned out as a local champion, an entrepreneur in our community. I would have gone to university with a car. Unfortunately, we don't look at these survival technologies. We don't look at it very seriously. We're busy looking at AI and machine learning and so on as a sexy technological phase that actually is good, not that it's not good, but it's not going to touch you very, very quickly. So we have to turn this high-tech down to low-tech so that we power our people from the bottom. And Ideas TV are doing that. And I encourage them to do more. They should get into the communities, take pictures of how people are surviving with an informal technology and formalize it because they have the linkage to all of that. And I can only say that if you continue as Ideas TV to penetrate the system, to continue to tell Nigerians that it is possible, it is possible, it is possible, you could be the eye and the ears for the renewed hope agenda. And you can be able to renew the hope of Nigerians appropriately.